Naofumi, Raphtalia, Philo, and Banner stand right in front of Glass. Glass is shocked to see that Raphtalia, someone that is part of Naofumi's party, is wielding a hammer that is reminiscent to, let's just say, one of the vassal weapons / cardinal weapons. Of course, Naofumi wielded that hammer at one time, and he was able to replicate the hammer. But the idea that his connection with Raphtalia would be enough to allow her to wield this said hammer is something interesting, in fact. Not only is she worthy, but she has such a connection with Naofumi to this point that she has now entered godhood herself, or at least in a way. She wields the hammer that Naofumi has been wielding this entire time, as Naofumi points his half hammer, half axe toward Glass, other known as Stormbreaker. Glass knows that she is at a massive disadvantage, so when the fight begins, she is on the defensive the vast majority of the time. Naofumi and Raphtalia sync up their attacks almost perfectly, throwing their hammer and Stormbreaker back and forth, cutting through every last bit of defense Glass has. Eventually, Glass is forced on the retreat, and when the clouds begin to settle and the wave begins to dissipate, Glass is forced away, and Glass immediately is forced to retreat back to her world. But she may not be the only one left over. There may be more and more people that they'll have to worry about. But we'll have to see what happens in this installment and the final installment of Naofumi, the legendary hammer hero, Love and Thunder. Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. And yes, this is kind of a nod toward the Thor movie coming out. I thought it would be a nice little kind of like reference. I thought it would be fun, but nonetheless, I'm not going to waste much more of your time. Check all the links in the description. I got a Discord, I have a Spotify. I'm slowly but surely, every day I add one of my what ifs to the Spotify, so if you guys want to check out the Spotify, check that out. But I do hope that you guys stay here and watch my videos here first, because you know, that's kind of how I make my living, but beyond the point. Nonetheless, hope you all enjoyed. If you want to see these videos early, as always, check out the membership. And that's about it. I'm not going to waste much more of your time, and let's just get right into the what if. Let's get it. Naofumi, Raphtalia, Banner, and Philo stand there as they watch Glass retreat. Of course, they have no ill will to Glass. Glass needed to do what she needed to do. She felt the need to have to try and kill the other heroes. Try to kill the heroes. Maybe to save her world, maybe to save herself. Even Naofumi is still questioning what's even going on. They're not so sure. Banner gives them kind of like a rough guess, thinking that maybe it has something to do with the world she came from. Because as far as they know, and to a large extent, Glass is not a normal monster from the waves, so it's pretty blatantly obvious. But nonetheless, they begin to get berated by the other heroes, saying that they should have finished her off, that they should have killed her. But Naofumi shakes his head. See, this is the difference between me and you three. Look, I'm not going to kill her for something she needs to do. I'm not going to do that. Maybe one day we can be friends. Maybe one day we can figure this out. If the day comes that I have to put my axe or my hammer through her chest, so be it. But still, I'm not going to just squander that opportunity when I know I have her beat. And when she comes back, we'll be even stronger, and they won't have a chance. Naofumi says this relatively sternly and helps all the heroes up and basically tells their parties to get them to basically get healed up and all that good stuff, in which he does just that. But then he is called to the kingdom. He's called in by the king asking various amounts of questions about how he got so strong, and Naofumi says that he just went down the path of the hero, went down the path of what the legendary weapons are supposed to mean, and that's all he really says. Of course, the king is kind of mad by this, or gets frustrated by this, saying that he's being too broad, that he needs to say exactly how he got so strong, in which Naofumi shakes his head. There is no clear-cut way to get strong. You guys all should know that by now. If there was, you all wouldn't be suffering from the waves. Naofumi begins to leave, But the king begins to shout at him, yelling at the top of his young lungs, saying that he will make sure all of them suffer if he doesn't give up the information. Naofumi turns and says that even if he tried, he wouldn't stand a chance. He walks away, leaving the kingdom. And as he's leaving, he actually doesn't say any remarks to the king. Nothing foul, nothing bad. Frankly, Naofumi is relatively respectful, and he's been pretty respectful this entire time. Naofumi begins to leave, heading off with his party to basically on their next adventure, ideally to Shield Freedom so that they can get their class upgrades. But on the way, while they're leaving, someone stops them. Actually, two people. First, before he leaves the kingdom entirely, a shadow stops him. A shadow asks him to basically look into this, showing him an emblem of the Three Heroes Church. And then on top of that, on the way out of the kingdom, Melty, the youngest daughter of the king and the queen, arrives and begins to basically ask him to reconcile with the king. Look, no disrespect to you, no disrespect to, well, maybe a little disrespect to the king, but he chose his stance. He threatened to kill or torture my own teammates for some information I didn't know. There's a problem in that. Just because you're the king doesn't mean that you have the right to do something like that or even insinuate it. I'm sorry, I'm not reconciling with him, but I'm here to protect, and that's it. So I hope you understand that relatively quickly. Just as he's saying this though, it seems that the knights that followed her are slowly but surely walking up. And just as they walk up, one of them charges forward. Immediately, Raphtalia throws her hammer right at the guard that's running at Melty. Melty was about to get impaled by a spear as the guard just gets hit in the face with the hammer, knocking him out cold. And then Naofumi then throws Stormbreaker and begins cutting through all of the knights, picking up Melty and running off as quick as possible and slinging Stormbreaker upwards so that they can fly away. Raphtalia is given the mission of carrying the other two, telling Philo to go into her other form. Immediately they fly away, getting a ton of distance. Being able to get this distance, they're allowed to basically conversate with each other, asking about what exactly occurred. And during these conversations, it seems like they come to the conclusion that they're trying to assassinate Melty. Melty asks why. Why would they ever do that? But Naofumi says that it might be, actually probably is, her sister. Her sister must want her out of the picture. She's still upholding the status of what the queen would want. It seems that the daughter, or the other daughter, and also the king are not. Those two are definitely trying to sway things in a different direction. Melty is distraught by this and doesn't want to believe it, but Naofumi says there's no time for talking about it, they need to go now. But just as he's about to leap off again with Raphtalia and the rest of his party, it seems like a shadow shows up, telling them that the queen wants to speak with him ASAP. And he says as long as they can bring Melty to her so that she's in safety, he doesn't care. In which they say that's fine. So Naofumi and Raphtalia, and obviously the rest of his party, but those are the two flying, they bolt off and they begin flying toward the queen's location. And when they arrive, a ton of the knights from the other country are shocked to see them there. It seems like the idea and the theory of the hammer hero was true, that the hammer hero somehow expanded his power so much to the point that it overflowed to one of his party members. At least that's the theory they've been hearing, and to a certain extent is correct, but there's more direct answers for that, not just the idea of his power overflowing. Nonetheless, they begin speaking with the queen, and are told about everything, the church, anything you can think of, in which Naofumi says that he'll handle everything and try his best to at least. But nonetheless, he really needs to get his class upgrades for his party members. That's the main goal right now. If they get that, then they're put in a situation where they can be substantially stronger than most of these people that are trying to fight them anyways. They may be stronger right now, but they might run into a problem if they don't get these class upgrades. In which the queen says, of course, and unfortunately the country they're in currently, the Dragon Hourglass is a bit further away compared to the one in Shield Freedom, that they can head over to Shield Freedom and relatively get one pretty easily. So Naofumi says that he'll do just that, especially with his party. So they begin to fly off once again without Melty, leaving her there with the queen, saying that they'll come back and check on her soon. They head over to Shield Frieden, and when they arrive, they begin to basically get their class upgrades. It seems that the people there are extremely kind, and especially seeing that there's a demi-human there with them, they definitely want to do that. And they even see who that demi-human is. It's the goddess herself, which kind of confuses them at that moment. And they've heard rumors of this, that there's a demi-human that is wielding a cardinal weapon. Yeah, I guess you can call it that. It's technically my hammer. I don't really know how that works, to be honest with you. In which they're just shocked to hear that. It's as if they duplicated the cardinal hero. In which Naofumi says that's kind of true. He doesn't really get it, but sure. But they ask if they can get their class upgrades, in which they say, of course they can. That the Dragon Hourglass is right there. So they decide to get their class upgrades, allowing them to develop their powers even more, especially Raphtalia and Banner. Philo seems to be kind of plateaued in terms of her power. Banner has his own monster form that seems to be expanding with Naofumi's power. Same thing with Raphtalia, now having the hammer gives her even more godly-like strength. Philo seems to plateau. Unfortunately, Philo is a little bit weaker than everyone else, but nonetheless still a powerful part of the party. They begin to head off, but just as they're heading off, Raphtalia sees something mid-air, sees this kingdom, this odd-looking kingdom, and begins to get flashbacks. Just as these flashbacks begin to arrive, she begins plummeting to the ground. Naofumi grabs her before they plummet because frankly she's carrying Philo, so doesn't want that to happen, but also because he wants to make sure she's okay. But she explains that over there, there's a man that basically enslaved her and enslaved so many others. Naofumi nods and says that that is a battle that she needs to handle herself, a battle that she has the power to handle herself. She, maybe back then, did not have the expertise, the strength, anything to deal with that said thing. But they will be there to support her, and she will make the decision on what she wants to do. So they fly over, not intending to help her at all. She storms the castle, defeating any knights that she has to defeat, and she approaches one man by the name of Rabier. And when he sees her, his eyes drop. He's terrified. He knows exactly who she is, and she throws the hammer at him, hitting him in the face, knocking him out instantly, and placing the hammer on top of him. Debating with what she wants to do, she wants to kill him. All the pain that, he caused her. During this time, though, Naofumi, Philo, and also Banner are currently getting all the prisoners that are at least alive at this moment out of there. There's a safe haven nearby, and they heard that the person that basically rules over that area is extremely nice and basically just a good person overall. So they decide to basically get all those prisoners out, as Raphtalia is actually making this decision to either kill Rabier or tie him up and basically put him in prison for the rest of his life. And she ends up deciding that. She ties him up and ties his feet, ties his legs, ties his arms, whatever you can think of, make sure he cannot get out, and she flies with him off to basically get him captured in a nearby demi-human-like prison. It seems that the nearby safe haven does have a prison itself, so they put him in, and especially because they do not like him, they decide that they'll keep him there for the rest of his life, having him chained up, having him locked up, whatever they need to do. Nonetheless, Naofumi decides that he'll put someone else in power of that area, meeting a man by the name of Van Richnot, getting to know him a lot more. Obviously, he's the one that orchestrates the safe haven for the demi-humans, so he decides to deem Van Richnot over that area. So now Van Richnot will have more places for the demi-human people to live, to enjoy their life. And during this time, they didn't realize that someone else was watching. Someone else with a big smile on their face was watching as their world is slowly but surely getting more peace. Their old hero would have loved to see it. And that woman, or that Filolial queen, is named Fitoria. Fitoria approaches them, floating down from the skies above like some goddess herself, and she begins to introduce herself, saying that she is the Filolial queen and she wants to speak with them about reuniting all of the heroes. This conversation goes on for a little bit, nothing crazy. Naofumi agrees that he wants to work together with all of them. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a struggle in terms of it though, in which Fitoria understands. So they go through all of what they need to go through and basically resolve the problem, quote unquote. at least they come up with a plan basically to send Naofumi one by one to each of the heroes to speak with them. Nonetheless, this won't be an easy task. If you thought it was, that would be outlandish. So Naofumi basically has a job to do now. But that next morning, he gets a bit of a surprise. He, Raphtalia, and the rest of his party except for Philo gets captured. And it seems like Fitoria wants to go one-on-one with Philo? For what? He's not even sure. He wasn't even told the plan, but eventually Philo is able to land one blow on Fitoria through basically sheer will and the extra bit of power that she got from the class upgrade. Fitoria then decides that to make Philo her successor, in which this is a great thing for Naofumi to hear, and giving her this blessing, Fitoria's blessing, and actually boosts his party a significant amount. Normally, it would be a 50% boost for the class upgrade, but it actually upgraded even more, about 100% worth. This was perfect for Naofumi to see. He wanted to make sure that he was strong enough for whatever's to come, especially with the Three Heroes Church, and this was a good way to do it. Fitoria apologizes, especially for not telling him what was going on, but he seemed too nice to actually keep something like that a secret. Naofumi kind of agrees and says that he probably would have slipped out of his mouth eventually, so it was probably good that she kept it to herself. But frankly, at the end of the day, she helped his party, so he's not going to complain, not one bit. Nonetheless, their next mission is upon them, and Naofumi has to go and see, well, obviously whoever's the closest hero. Fitoria, though, says that she can teleport them, but she then taps the hammer that Raphtalia is holding, and also the Stormbreaker that Naofumi is holding, and says that they can go themselves. And actually, it was kind of built into their power already. They just never knew it existed. In which this is able to teleport them to the nearest hero that they can actually seek out, using something other known as the Bifrost. Normally the Bifrost would help you basically jump across realms, but in this case would help you jump across areas around this world, which is a lot more handy than flying, to be honest with you. Nonetheless, they teleport to the nearest hero, and when they arrive, they're face to face with Motoyasu and his party. Motoyasu begins to yell at Naofumi, telling him why would he do it. What? Why would I do what? Well, I'm confused. What did I do? Motoyasu tells him to stop being dumb, that he killed Ren and Itsuki. Dude, seriously? How would that even be possible? I have like a solid alibi, actually. We can actually go over now, if you want. Look, if you heard all the stuff I've been doing, you would not be saying that. Don't know how it's even possible that I would kill him when I wasn't even near you. I literally just teleported here. Naofumi then is just blasted off of this idea, like, come on, like, what are you talking about? And Motoyasu continues to say this over and over again, and even Mine confirms it, saying Mine basically has evidence of it. You really believe her? I honestly don't understand how you believe her. In which Motoyasu says that she is a loyal, basically, partner to him. Okay, a loyal partner, sure. Alright, well, listen, dude. We need to team up. All of us need to team up. The other heroes, I really hope they're not dead, because that would be a real problem. But knowing Ren and Itsuki, they don't die very easily. They're pretty strong, so I would hope they wouldn't be dead. Immediately as he's saying this, though, Motoyasu tries to attack him. Immediately, Raphtalia batters it away and kicks him away, putting her hammer right on top of Motoyasu's chest, in which he complains and says, like, why does this always happen? Like, get the hammer off of me. In which Raphtalia says that she's not taking the hammer off of him. You might as well just leave him there for now. In which the other people of his party get knocked out, or basically just subdued, at least for the meantime, relatively easily, as they wait for the impending person to approach. And that impending person is the Pope himself. But he didn't approach how he thought he would. Actually, something else is approaching. A giant blast from the sky that Philo recognizes before it even approaches, or even starts to hit them. Naofumi and Raphtalia are directed to basically just Bifrost all of them to at least the nearby mountain so they don't get struck, teleporting his party, and their party to that nearby mountain as a giant explosion goes off exactly where they were. They teleport back toward that crater as the Pope approaches. The Pope says that it's impressive that they were able to get away, but frankly, well, they won't be getting away ever again. Naofumi then throws Stormbreaker right at the Pope in an instant, not waiting for him to say another word, and cuts off his head. Naofumi retracts the Stormbreaker and everyone stares at him. What? I went for the head. What's the problem? He shrugs as the fight was anticlimactic. Exactly, very anticlimactic. But at the end of the day, Naofumi and his party were exponentially strong. Extremely strong. They're to the point where Glass really didn't stand a chance, and frankly, the combination and connection they have between Raphtalia, Banner, and also Philo, with Fitoria's blessing, made it so that Stormbreaker's hit was practically defense penetrating, something like that. So it didn't matter how strong he was. One swift strike to the head, his head goes flying off. And while that head is dropping to the ground, Ren and Itsuki arrive, in which they remark that it seems that Naofumi handled the problem faster than they even expected, which they expected it to be fast, but not that fast. Naofumi shrugs and says that it really wasn't a problem. It's basically the huge charge-up time that he has with that weapon, and the fact that it's just a giant blast and then he has to kind of charge it up again. But nonetheless, he's happy to see them alive. Ren and Itsuki say, yeah, they're glad too that they're alive, but luckily enough, the Queen's shadows actually saved them. Naofumi is definitely happy to hear this. At the end of the day, it seems that the Queen has come up with her side of the bargain in terms of helping as much as possible, and obviously this would mean that the Queen should be on her way about now. And she actually does arrive with a bunch of her fleets, her knights and stuff like that, and she tells Naofumi that not only thank you, but also that they actually captured all of the followers of the Pope. So luckily enough, they're not going to have to worry about the Three Heroes Church ever again. But there is a bone to be picked. The king and mine obviously had a hand in all of this. They try to deny it, but once they put slave crests upon them, the truth is revealed really quickly. Naofumi doesn't want them dead. Don't get me wrong. Naofumi has no intention of basically killing them off. He doesn't really have too big of a knack with them. But at the same time, let's just say he doesn't like the princess very much. But he wants to make it clear. He doesn't want her to be allowed to fight alongside a hero ever again, especially Motoyasu. And he needs Motoyasu to realize this, that she is not a good person. And it's blatantly obvious that she's not. So he hopes that quickly he realizes that. So if they do decide to let her come back, that they keep a really good watchful eye upon her and don't let her dictate how she used to dictate. Naofumi makes this clear, and as they head back to the kingdom, they begin to celebrate the win over the Pope. It's more like Naofumi's win and his party, but still, nonetheless, they're celebrating the Pope's defeats and now the new era of this kingdom. Nonetheless, they begin to eat, have a nice time, but the heroes are down to basically the nitty-gritty once again, and that's talking about how to level up properly in their 4 heroes little council meeting. Doesn't go very well. Never will. Frankly, Naofumi and the other 3 heroes don't necessarily get along perfectly. It's not like they're best friends. They chat about their ways of leveling up. Naofumi explains kind of everything they've done, or everything him and his party have done, and it's far different than what all of them done, at least singular-wise. Every single one of them have their own way of leveling up, and they have their own idea of how to get stronger, which, frankly, each one of them are correct, but you kind of need to combine all of them. That's kind of what Naofumi has done, in which he tells them that. That's exactly how he got stronger. And when they hear this, they believe that that can't be true, that he must just be cheating, right? There's no way that their choice is not the way to get the strongest. Naofumi reminds them once again about who was the one able to defeat the Pope with relative ease. Who was the one that basically saved them during the wave. Him and his party did, not them. So they need to realize that he's being serious, and they need to get down to this right now. After hearing this, they feel disrespected, so they decide they're just going to storm off, in which the Queen says that they need to sit down because if they want to storm off, she has one thing last to say, in which there is a training event or a leveling up event basically at the archipelago, the Cal Mira archipelago event, in which they will all go, There's double experience points, and they'll get experience points way faster. And they can take Naofumi's tips if they so choose, or they don't have to, and maybe or may not get stronger in the meantime. But still, Naofumi has some good ideas, and they should consider them. But nonetheless, they storm off. They storm off and head off, and they all head to Cal Mira. Naofumi decides to take his own way, using his teleportation or his Bifrost to basically just jump over to Cal Mira with his entire party, arriving relatively early and not meeting a special 2 people. Nonetheless, they begin their leveling up spree and training as much as possible. And during this training though, 2 people do stumble across him, actually seemingly like they wanted to in the first place. These 2 people were Lark and Therese. Naofumi introduces himself, and frankly, when they begin leveling up together and training, Naofumi sees how strong they are. They're not obviously crazy overpowered by any means, but they're pretty strong, and they begin to conversate and enjoy each other's company. Therese and Lark realize this and have to kind of push away. They realize that Naofumi is a good person. Naofumi is very nice to his teammates, very nice to almost everybody. It's as if everybody slowly but surely loves Naofumi. But nonetheless, they have a job to do, and they don't want that to cloud their judgments. So after a couple days of training, Naofumi decides that he'll have his party hang out on the beach. They've grown in power substantially. A lot, by all means. Naofumi has grown a lot in levels, a lot in strength. Raphtalia has exponentially grown, same thing with Banner and also Philo. Their strength is kind of unmatched at this point, and they're extremely powerful. So when a surprise wave would be discovered by Philo and the rest of her party, it seems as if they're pretty prepared. But how prepared are the other heroes? How prepared truly are they? Nonetheless, they can't really think about this, not at this moment. So they wait. They wait for the Queen's reinforcements to arrive, and when they do, they hop on a ship, and when the wave begins, they tell all the heroes that they will be focusing on the main boss. But Naofumi says there's no use, that they will handle the fish in the water, and every last one of them. All of the monsters in the water begin to arrive, and Naofumi tells Raphtalia to come over there and watch closely as they begin to point their hammer and also their Stormbreaker to the sky, and they begin to channel the thunder. The thunder then soon came, and then here came the lightning. Naofumi and Raphtalia pointed at the water as lightning strikes all around in the water, killing every last one of the creatures underwater, and also the giant creature that was just about to resurface. They jump on the giant creature, and they begin to look around to see that the wave is currently not over. Just as Naofumi was feeling, and had a feeling would happen, Glass is arriving once again. But no, she's not here yet. Someone else is. Lark and Therese are actually 2 people that want to take down Naofumi and the rest of the heroes. Look, you don't have to do this. You seem like genuine people. We don't have to do this fight. They refuse. They say that they have to do it. It's for the sake of their world, and frankly, they choose their world over Naofumi's. There's a difference, you know. There's a difference between saving your world and destroying countless others. Why can't you find out a way to save those other worlds? I've seen it. I've seen it before, 1,000 times over. It's possible. I know it is. Naofumi is, in a way, thinking outside the box here, saying that he has saved a multitude of people through unconventional ways. Not everything has to come down to war. Not everything has to come down to fighting. That he will help in any way he possibly can. Naofumi begins to feel something deep within him and begins to summon it. Begins to summon the Bifrost once again, but this Bifrost is different. He points upwards as the hole in the sky begins to cut through the wave itself. That portal is right above a brand new world. Right above Glass's world. They're shocked. How the hell did you do that, kid? Naofumi doesn't say much, just says that he had a feeling he could, because he feels that the Hammer Hero is built to do something different. He's here to do something far more than just protect his world. He wants to protect everybody, protect the countries, protect everything around. But there's a difference. Lark and Therese, you both realize you cannot beat me. You cannot beat my party. It was pretty obvious when we defeated Glass, and if you think that we got weaker from that time, and we didn't get stronger, you're gonna be in a rude awakening very soon. But listen, I have no intention of fighting you. Or Glass. I know she's on her way. Listen, we can figure this out. We can figure all of this out. Save your world? I don't know how. But just know that I'm one portal away. And I'm there. Do I know what happens when I step foot in your world? No. But when me and my party go, we promise we'll change something. We'll make sure everything gets fixed. You have my word. You have my word, that is for sure. Naofumi pulled out a bit of a speech. He told basically Lark and Therese that he would help them the best they possibly can. This is totally in the realm of possibility for Naofumi. His power is to an extent where he can even leap realms at this point. And they decide that they won't fight him. It's not like they really stood a chance in the first place. They knew that from the beginning. But just as Glass arrives, she agrees with the instance that Naofumi wants. The idea that Naofumi brings to her attention. They realize they can win. But they can still save their world in different means. This may be harder. It may be more difficult by all means necessary. But maybe learning exactly how to save their world can save countless others in the future. Naofumi agrees, saying that is their goal. And that should be their goal for the near future. Their world is as precious as the next. And they will make sure that every last one of them gets saved. And that is a wrap for, well, the legendary, basically hammer hero, Naofumi, all that good stuff. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, sub, and comment down below. And I really enjoyed this series. Unfortunately, it didn't get as many views as I really hoped it would. I felt like it could have. Unfortunately, it didn't do as well as some of the other ones I've done for Naofumi, but that's fine. Really, I don't mind necessarily. But still, it was really fun. So as long as I'm having fun, you'll be getting good stories. That's why I always say I don't like doing a story that I eventually just grow to dislike, or I grow to be like, oh, I don't want to do this no more, because then you'll get really bad stories. But nonetheless, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope y'all have an amazing day. Later.
I don't wanna waste what's left.